Good people of YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and yeah, it's Stay of the Collection time, and yeah, I haven't done one in a really long time. It's been about 1.5 years. I think last June in 2021 was when I did it. So yeah, I figured that now's a good time to do it. End of the year, it all feels right. And more so because a lot has happened with the collection since then. I mean, obviously a lot of watches have come in and a bunch of watches have been sold off and left, and some watches have risen to prominence, and there are still some watches that are going to be coming up for sale. So it's just nice to take stock of what's going on, yeah, even for me, because many of them stay hidden in the watch box and just elsewhere, you know, like my Zodiac Sherbert GMT over here that I have on right now. Also, I've done videos on most of these watches, so yeah, check those out if you want more info on any of these watches. And at the end, I'll be announcing the winner of the ProMaster Diver giveaway. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and let's get into it. So this is where a lot of the movement happened, and it's been well documented on the channel. But yeah, the big movers were the sales of both my Black Bay 58s, the blue and the 925. Yeah, I did a whole video on why exactly I sold them, so check that out if you want more info. But basically, they just weren't being worn enough, and there are just little issues that just kept nibbling at the experiences of both watches. And yeah, then the Black Bay Pro came in, and that was yeah, the final blow for the Black Bay 58s. And speaking of the Black Bay Pro, that's joined by my beloved Pelagos, and yeah, they're actually my first and last Tudors, and honestly, just as a duo, I am loving them because, and also it just makes sense why these are the keeper Tudors, because both have that tool watch look about them. Obviously, you know, the Pelagos has much more of a tool watch look than the Black Bay Pro, but it's this tooling nature that drew me to the Pelagos in the first place, which turned me onto the Tudor brand in the first place as well. So yeah, I guess we've sort of reached equilibrium in a way right now. But yeah, I mean, let's just see what happens with the next Tudor release. Oh, and I know I'll forget about this, so I'll mention it now, but I also have my Apple Watch Ultra on the Midnight Ocean Band, and yeah, it's just, you know, it's just been an awesome experience. I'll be doing an update, you know, long-term video on this soon, because yeah, I think, well, despite it being awesome, I think it's potentially changed the way that I interact with my other watches and quote-unquote normal watches for the better, which seems, you know, impossible, but it's very true. So for Seiko, arguably my favorite brand, I would say, obviously if number of Seikos count for anything, and amongst those, the SKX is really high up there because, you know, I've got three, you know, the smaller SKX 013, the blue dial 009, and the classic black dial 007, and each one has been lightly modded, you know, which adds to the fun of owning an SKX. And yeah, I guess I can throw in the SSK GMT in here with the SKXs because they're effectively very similar. But you know, man, it's just looking incredible. And yeah, I haven't worn it in a while, and I definitely need to change that. And then we have my favorite Seiko currently, the SPB313, which was my first ever watch with this white dial, black bezel combination, which I've historically disliked very much, but yeah, just something about this worked so well. And yeah, check out the videos on this one. And one of my core keeper watches, the good old Sarbo 17 Alpinist, and yeah, I actually thought it looked pretty ugly at first, you know, the green dial with the gold indices, but you know, I was curious about it regardless, and then I bought it once when they announced that they were going to discontinue it. And yeah, pretty much immediately after I wore it, I fell in love with it, and it was just the first watch that just, you know, made me smile. And yeah, to this day, I just absolutely love this thing. And of course, the absolute, you know, unit of a watch, the Marine Master 300, and it's still such a stunning watch to look at and wear, although this has been on and off the chopping block for a while now. So yeah, let's see how long it stays since I don't wear it as often as I used to. Oh, and how could I forget the SNE 569, one of my favorite of the bunch. And yeah, I've done multiple videos on this gem, and I also really want to get the blue dial variant of this and maybe fill it with oil, because the oil filled effect is very cool. And yeah, oh, and I got the metronome after watching that big video from channel, take a look at this about the watch. So yeah, big thanks to him, because if it wasn't for that video, I probably wouldn't have seen this watch. So I combined Omega and Grand Seiko because they're just 2 over here, but actually it was 3 up until a few days ago when I sent in my SBGT 241 to be traded in for 2 watches. So yeah, it's worth it, despite how awesome that watch was. I mean, with that awesome GS dial and the 9F25 Easter egg, and also it's so unbelievably accurate. It's rated to 5 seconds a year, but in practice it doesn't even deviate between the 2 daylight savings time resets. And then we've got the SBGA 387 Kirazuri, the first US only limited edition of 558, which is kind of a random number, but yeah, this is a very special watch for me because it has a special story of how I got it, but also it's just unbelievably beautiful, and I can just talk about it for hours more. I mean, to me, it's just the best modern day Grand Seiko. That being said, I have a feeling that I will sell it just because it just doesn't get worn very often, because I'm just too afraid of scratching the perfect case, and also the value has gone up on it quite a bit. So yeah, I just can't quite justify, locking in this much money in a watch that I barely wear, so I might just get, a more usable Grand Seiko. And then we have the sole survivor of the Omega family, because I sold my Seamaster Professional 300 before I got the channel, and yeah, that was that's my one and only watch selling regret. And then I sold my Speedmaster X33 earlier this year, because once again, as insanely cool as the watch is and as amazing as that titanium feel was on the wrist, it just wasn't worn very much at all. And yeah, it's the classic 1863 Speedmaster. It was my first big boy watch that I bought, and yeah, I absolutely love it, and I did obviously a video on this as well. So what else could I possibly say about this really special watch? I mean, it's definitely amongst my absolute core keepers. So here we have 4 entry-ish to mid-tier Swiss watches, and it's the Zodiac Super Seawolf GMT Sherbet, the Oris Diver 65 Hodinky, the Ollech Wajs P104, and the Tissot PRX. And the Oris Diver 65 Hodinky is very special, video on it as well, and yeah, I got it for my 10,000th day alive, and I somehow managed to get it despite it being sold out. I think it was like 11 minutes or something like that. But yeah, for those who know me from this channel will know that this is basically a perfect watch, because it's all gray everything, which is the main reason why I was able to make such a quick snap decision on it. Next up is the Zodiac Super Seawolf GMT Sherbet, and yeah, I'm so in love with this despite the absolute mess of an experience when it came to buying one of these. But yeah, this watch just makes me so happy, because it for a long time this was my one and only white dial watch, and just the entire look with the orange and the white bezel was just so different from my other divers, and also it's just unbelievably comfortable on the wrist. And then it's the Tissot PRX, and while I don't wear this very often, it is obviously a very special watch, because reviewing this was my first video I ever did nearly 2 years ago, and it's been fun fiddling around with it, and yeah, taking off the second tan and things like that, fixing the case back. Good times with this one. And finally, it's the Ollech Wajs P104, and I just love how different this is from everything else. What with the dial looking the way it does, and the slide rule bezel, and on top of that, it has one of the most comfortable bracelets I've ever worn. It's incredible. But yeah, just like many other watches, I haven't been wearing this very often, so I do think that it will be sold eventually. And it's time for Citizen, and man, they are underrated, because this ProMaster diver is just so awesome and comfortable. And if I were to actually go diving, I think that this would be the watch that I would take, because it feels like I can just go through anything, and it's just so comfortable. And yeah, my love for it is the main reason why I chose this as the giveaway watch, and which I will be announcing later on. But yeah, if the ProMaster is a chill, modern diver, then this one is just pure insanity because, you know, it's based off of the Citizen's 1300 meter diver from 1982, which was also their first titanium watch, which, you know, means a lot to me given how much I absolutely love titanium. But yeah, this thing just looks insane and looks and feels unlike anything else, and it wears surprisingly well. And yeah, so for this, you either hate it or you love it, and I happen to absolutely love this thing. And here are the GShocks. As you can see, I probably have too many of them here, but they're just so much fun. And last summer, they absolutely dominated my wrist, and it was like to the point where I was even like worried if I'd ever be able to wear normal watches again. And that was mainly due to my favorite and, in my opinion, the ultimate GShock, you know, the GW5000U. And yeah, to most people, this won't be worth effectively double the price of a GWM5610. But, you know, my God, like just the difference is incredible. The feel of the rubber alongside the screw down case back and the crispy clarity of the upgraded screen makes all of it worth it. And yeah, definitely check out the video if you want more information on this. And I still love the DW6900 very, very much. I mean, it just feels so classically G-Shock, and you know, with the size and also the multiple colors on it. And yeah, I also obviously wear the rest of them sparingly, not very much. So yeah, I think it's time to sell those as well. And then we have the Microbrands, which include the Lesablier, the Visitor Linden, I've got the Dan Henrys over here, and then obviously the San Martins that have been very surprising to say the least, and then my SN007, which has just been so good. And yeah, I can't stop wearing this. It's definitely one of my most worn watches, which we'll talk about next week over here. Yeah, God, oh God, it just looks so good. But on top of that, I've also sold quite a few of them as well. The Brumetric, which I'm kind of missing, and the Laurier Hydra Series 2, which I'm missing quite a lot. And these Zelos Swordfish 40, and then the Islander ISL 69, and then maybe there was another one, but yeah. And so there you have it. A lot's changed with the collection, and I'm excited to hear what you guys think in the comments, and I also want to hear about all of your guys' collections as well. And yeah, but it's now time to announce the Citizen ProMaster giveaway winner, and the winner is written here because I actually recorded this earlier, and I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to enter. So yeah, here it is. So yeah, definitely email me at thewatchidiot@gmail.com. It's in the description as well. Congratulations to you, whoever it is. I still don't know. I haven't chosen yet. But yeah, until the next video, good day.